Welcome to my final nail in the coffin as to why I'm boycotting Gran Turismo for an online racing. This video is going to be more negative than the last two videos. I still hold true to my beliefs of the positive things I said about the game, and there's still tons of what can be worked on to make this better, and the ultimate goal is still to make the racing better in the future and to ultimately get back to racing maybe more than ever, but that's only on PD to make that done. The community can say as much as they want, but it's up to PD to actually do the fixes. And well, this arguably needs fixed even more than the rest. It's kind of hard to say what truly needs to be fixed most, because it all does, but I will say this all happened in one race. And this is all mainly to do with contact penalties. And ultimately repercussion of those penalties too. Last two videos weren't focusing as much on that, but this video is the point of it's focusing so much on it. This is only one race and it's this bad. I have countless examples from many different races of all this happening, but I figured it would be best to show one race with this to prove that it's not just common point, it's common race by race. This may be the most common thing that happens of all the things I've discussed before. And the common thing here is very much unfair penalties for getting hit. I've kind of touched on that in the previous video, but that was more to say how ghosting would work in these situations. In this, it's not even relevant. Ghosting, probably there shouldn't be ghosting when these situations happen. But they definitely should involve penalties to begin with. That's where I'll start. And then I'll go on to later when later happens. But to begin with, what happens most recently coming up should not be penalized. Let's start out. This is also from my live stream. It's proof that all this happened live, and this is unedited. I'll skip through to the better, juicier parts, but the whole unedited thing is on my live stream, so that proves it. I'm not just making this up. So anyway, let's get going. For those of y'all who are regulars to my channel, this may sound like bragging, but I think I've proved it enough to be sure. I'm decent enough at this track, Tokyo Expressway Central Outer Loop. I have the world record in every sector of the circuit experience there. What's that in of itself is its own negative, because people have to make alternate accounts now to even be able to do the circuit experiences again now that there's been a change to the tire model. But I'm not going to get into that too much here. I just said that to pretty much preface. I decently know what I'm doing here. And what's perfect, I would say I'm probably as good as anyone usually here. Obviously, I'm not a downright alien. I'm not one of the people who are competing in the top 21st Superstars races commonly. I'm not one of the ones going to the finals. I'm not any of that. But this particular track, I've competed with those people on and went toe-to-toe against, and I have proof on the channel of. So anyway, now let's get into this particular race. I qualified first in this race by about a second, but I have pretty slow reflexes, especially just right at the start of a race. And I also want to be careful about starting the race now that they have an actual 3, 2, 1, and then you have to time it right when it goes to go yourself now, and it's not just automatically it goes when it goes immediately, which is good, but that creates its own set of problems, especially on a standing start, because I get past the point in which I have time to actually catch back up and then drive back around too, which may show that drafting is a little bit overpowered, but even that's not the main thing I'm showing here. Draft overall is kind of sort of overpowered, but it depends on the circumstance, depends on the cars, and that may be something that cannot be fixed either. Yeah, I would like PD to say that it can't be truly fixed just because there's way too many circumstances for drafting to be completely fixed, but there's also a lot that we need to go into to explain that, because there are so many circumstances, so whatever, I will forgive that, because that's not the main issue of this video. The main issue is what happens after I draft, and after I get alongside this car here, which is racing perfectly clean right now. As y'all can see, there's a car behind, and then there's that car beside. That car behind is doing nothing really wrong now. And actually, even that car beside is not doing anything wrong. It's actually ended up racing clean throughout this part. But the car behind, whether intentionally or not, I don't know, probably unintentionally, given that's very minor, gives me, well, a very minor tap. I gain a little bit of speed from that, not much. But honestly, I think ultimately kinda helps both of the vehicles involved there. I gain a little bit of speed to get clear of second, and then third taps me enough to where I actually do get clear, meaning that it's not too wide. Meaning third can pick like how they want to follow. They can either try to get in my drive to get around second or wait. So third ultimately made it better for both of us because that gives more an opportunity for third to pass now that we're single file instead of us too wide, and it gets me ultimately in the lead. So of course benefit from this. But yet I get a penalty. There's two things wrong with that, one of which major, one of which I'll still mention. Let's start with the still worth mentioning thing that's not that game breaking, but it's still annoying. The penalty is delayed. Why is that a thing? Why are sometimes penalties delayed? I'd prefer that to be fixed. I really would. Yeah, and it may not be something that can be fixed, but it's shown before, even in previous videos I've done on the boycott, that penalties can be exactly when they happen. Like one of the penalties I shouldn't have got, but I did, about barely tapping a wall would slow me down. That was an immediate penalty. This, I got bumped probably 3 seconds before it gave me a penalty, but that's not the main issue with this either. The main issue is the penalty in general. I basically get bump drafted. I couldn't control that. There was a car directly on my outside. I literally could not move there. If I moved to the inside, I hit the inside wall. If I moved to the outside, I hit the outside car. If I brake, I would brake check the car behind me. And I'm accelerating full throttle. So there's quite literally nothing I could have done different in that circumstance without causing a wreck. I didn't cause a wreck. If anything, I benefited both drivers involved, as I said before. And I still get a penalty for it. And it's not just like half a second or something, because ultimately I think it's fair to say I gained about half a second from that bit of a bump draft there. Whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. And again, I gained a little bit of time from that, so maybe a little bit of time penalty is not that big a deal, just to ultimately make it not completely unfair to second. Because in theory, the car in third could have done the same thing to the car in second, and the car in second would have gotten around me. But they chose to use the car on the inside as the one to bump, just because that's the one traveling the least amount of distance, so ultimately would be the one that benefits the most. So that makes the most sense for that to be the car that third picked to bump there, just because that's the one that would most likely become clear. And correct, I got clear. Third made a good decision. I made a good decision, but somewhat negatively affected second, but not directly. Ultimately, I don't think that should be a penalty at all. And definitely not a cotton picking 5-second penalty. And an SR down for me as well. There's nothing I could have done about that. At the very most, I should have got a very small penalty for that just to make it fair for second. But there should be no way whatsoever I lose sportsmanship rating for that. Now I move on. I'll just move on fairly periodically. This is now lap 3 or 2. Yeah, 2. And I have still in the 4-second range penalty with a car pretty close to me. I'm still racing clean, I'm still giving it room. Lap 3. 3 seconds penalty. Car still behind me, still racing clean, still giving it room. If you want to see specifics in between these, it's on the live stream. You can do so. Getting later in lap 3, this is well quit going forward. Is now look I actually have a decent amount of room to delete the penalty. It's looking like I've done fairly well. I've gotten away from second enough to which I can delete the penalty and have space to do so without slowing second down. So that works out kind of well for both of us. I still have to delete the penalty so that I get second to catch up, and I've room to delete the penalty. No, I shouldn't have got the penalty to begin with, but I might ultimately have it not technically matter. I might win the race anyway, and whatever. Still probably lose overall SR points because I didn't deserve that penalty to begin with, but if I win the race, not a terrible loss, because ultimately I'd still probably have between like a 95 and 97 sportsmanship rating, and then an addition of like 40 driver rating at the max. Granted, I have 62 plus 1,000 driver rating at this point, and then I would gain about 40 for winning this race. But again, that's not the main issue I'm showing you. The main issue is, well, what's to come. Lap 4. That driver's close. That driver has a draft. I can pretty plainly see that. But I'll admit I somewhat do block here, but I very much so I do block. I'll pause it for a minute just to explain what I did. I just barely went over. I didn't swerve over. I kind of went about one lane in maybe 3 seconds. I could have just easily swerved directly over. But I tried to make it easy, and then, well, I did. And then I'd say that gave a decent amount of time for the other car to react. What I was trying to do is make the other car pass on the inside instead of the outside, because if I'm on the outside, then I can just yield off better. But if I'm on the inside, well, I'm taking the inside to the next turn, so if I try to, like, back off, the other car would be swinging to the inside, and we may clip each other. I don't want that. That would hurt us both. But if I'm on the outside, I wouldn't be able to swing to the inside anyway, because the other car would be there, so I would just back off. So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to go to the outside line so the other car goes to the inside line, and then it would work out, I would assume. But I start braking throughout, allow the other car to pass, and then maybe, if that worked out best for me, I do an up and under move. If not, then whatever, I'm in second, I don't have much penalty left, and I delete the penalty when I'm in draft. But instead, the other car doesn't react like I feared he would, and makes contact with me. Ghosting physics does a thing here. We kind of go into each other, but not completely. And then ultimately it's ping physics as well, and then we exit each other, but I get a penalty for it. There was contact there, kinda sorta, and ghosting physics almost worked there, kinda sorta. And neither happened. I don't even really think there needed to be ghost physics there. If we wouldn't have gone into each other and done that weird ping thing, then I think ultimately I would have carried slightly more speed into the turn and probably would have wrecked anyway. I probably still would have got a penalty I didn't deserve because I again nudged a wall and lost speed, but still, I think that would have been a better outcome than what happened, because at least then I wouldn't have lost sportsmanship rating. Now I also lose sportsmanship rating and get a penalty that I had no idea was going to happen, because I just figured the other car was going to go to the inside there. And it still ultimately hurts the other car as well, because it just downright gets slowed down again. I'm still going to attempt to win the race too. I'm going to still attempt to keep the lead in a clean way. At this point, I'm a little bit more annoyed, so I'm going to have to do more drastic measures to keep the lead, but I'm still going to attempt to be clean. Meaning, I keep my line and then hit the brakes here. I wouldn't say I'm downright blocking, because I keep my line, but I do obviously hit the brakes here. It hit yet again. At this point, maybe the other driver should understand I'm deleting the penalty, so you can take that as you may, but again, I keep my line, delete the penalty a bit. Go to the inside just because that turn, it's the best way to keep the turn. Go to the inside. I'll go back one bit there because I noticed there was contact there, so that may be best to. But I go from the outside to delete a bit of penalty and then go to the inside because while that car's going to the outside, that just seems like the good thing to do. If I see the other car's taking the outside line, get out of the way of it. I don't have as much momentum as it. But ultimately, we still make contact. Unintentional contact. I've got a bit less speed than that other car. That car tries to go to the outside, but then there's contact. We probably both messed up there and just misjudged where we need to be, and then ultimately that leads to that car being pretty wrecked. At this point, I'm just completely slowing down, and I don't mind if the other car gets round, because ultimately it got slowed down by me. Whose fault it really was, it's kind of hard to say, but I'm aware that I slowed it down too, so Whatever, delete more of the penalty. That's fine. The car still doesn't really even get around. I'm attempting to give it room, but it also didn't pass, so now I'm going to run my line because it didn't pass. It's looking like it's also giving me room, so if it's not wanting to pass, I'm still going to stay where I am, but then, no. Now I don't honestly know what it's doing. So maybe this is more blocking now, but now I thought it was going to go to the outside because that's what it showed before. So then even more contact. And at this point now it's almost looking like the other driver's trying to wreck me. Am I warranting it? I don't know. I'm not trying to be warranted, but now I think it's going to be more of a demolition derby to this point. Now we just have to watch each other. Just try to judge each other's moves, because I think now we're getting both annoyed at each other, and I'll admit, that was pretty much almost a downright pit maneuver by the other driver. Was it warranted? Again, I don't know. Maybe if I was the other driver, I would try the same thing at this point, but nonetheless, it pretty much was. I'm on the far outside here. I stay pretty much on the far outside here, but that car goes also to the outside there, and about spins me. I about get spun there, so now I'm also just going ahead and trying to defend, because at this point, maybe that warranted the other driver even getting a penalty too. He just tried to pretty much pit maneuver me. But at this point, we're two pretty much racing dirty with each other, and then the other car comes involved too, and then now it's just a big mess of everyone's pretty much trying to wreck everyone because of the one penalty I get early in the race, and then the BS that followed because of it. I got one undeserved penalty at the beginning of the race. And then now it's a demolition derby with three cars near the end of the race because that penalty could not be deleted in a way in which was fair. The penalty itself wasn't even fair. I was trying my best to delete it in a fair way. But then even more chaos ensued, and now everyone's getting negatively affected by it. Who's at fault? At the beginning, it's PD for giving the unfair penalty. Now it's kind of sort of everyone, because everyone's trying to pretty much wreck everyone at this point. I admit, I'm definitely trying to wreck some of the other cars too at this point, but that's because I've gotten so many unfair penalties at this point, it's somewhat well deserved. I'm not going to lose because of a BS penalty, I'll say that. Especially when other cars have also initiated contact as well, whether it was warranted contact or whatever. That's just how I race. I race eye for an eye. If a car at some point attempts to wreck me, I'm going to attempt to wreck it too. No matter the penalties, just because I don't want to be pushover. That's how I race. If y'all think it's wrong, then whatever, I won't be racing all that much from now on. But ultimately, that still leads to one car getting completely wrecked. Do y'all see something that's a bit wrong here? This is the first time out of all these three cars being together that one car gets downright wrecked completely and out of the race. Was it intentional? Was it unintentional? Was it deserved? Was it not? It's hard to say, but I will say the other car definitely got wrecked. And I will say that I did not get penalized there, that I deserved to get a penalty there. I don't know, but I will say I did a lot more than the undeserved penalties that I saw previously. I deserve a penalty way more in that situation than in any of the other situations, but the majority of the other situations I get a penalty. But this time in which one car gets completely wrecked, I don't. I get penalized for racing clean and then benefit from racing dirty. That's not how that should be in the slightest. And then at this point, the race is pretty much over. I finish second. I delete the penalty the best I can. Or actually, I cross the line second. I delete the penalty the best I can, and net third place from penalty time. Again, the rest is on the live stream if you want to look, but I ended the live stream right after this race because I saw no point in continuing. That's when I called it. That's when I was done live streaming for pretty much good till all this gets fixed with GG Sport. To sum it up, I got penalized for racing clean and then punished. Like, I guess there's somewhat of a difference in penalized and punished, that's what I'm trying to put. I got a literal time penalty and then the SR went down for racing clean. I benefited because another car wrecked and was not punished because I didn't get an SR down penalty for pretty much racing dirty. Again, it's kind of hard to say truly intentional or not, but I was sort of trying to block at that point. I wasn't necessarily trying to wreck, but I also didn't want to lose because of a BS penalty. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? Probably I'm more in the wrong than right, but I think PD more than anybody is in the wrong with this, because if they didn't give me an undeserved penalty to begin with, it probably would have been a nice 3-car battle for the majority of that race. Remember how I saw it at the very beginning? That caused me to get the initial penalty. Third bumped me just enough for me to get clear of second, and then us running 1 by 1 by 1 instead of 2 wide for the lead. That would have gave a chance for a draft terrain. Second might have had a chance later to pass me, and then third might have had a chance later to pass second. So therefore, ultimately equaling in a 3-car battle. But instead, because I got the initial penalty, I tried to delete it, which just kind of slowed down everyone, which caused some miscellaneous wrecks and bumps and stuff throughout, causing it not to be the best battle in the world, and for everyone to ultimately be punished in some way, shape, or form. One car got wrecked completely out of the race, I got more BS penalties to begin with, and then the third car ultimately had an SR down as well. Everyone got punished because of PD's own mistake. Could I have prevented the other cars getting punished? To an extent, yes. But could I have prevented the initial penalty? No, not at all. So should I prevent others from being penalized for something that I got penalized so I couldn't prevent it? That's kind of hard to say. That's iffy. That depends on the person. What isn't iffy there is the initial penalty. There's no way at all that should be a large penalty. Again, maybe a very small penalty just to make it fair for second. But that's it. And that still would have ultimately created a good race. Half a second penalty would have been deleted by this point. 5-second penalty that went up, no, it just cannot be when trying to actually race good still. Not just being pushed over and letting everyone else by deleting your penalty. Ways that this can be fixed. Don't get BS penalties to begin with, and then none of the other circumstances would have happened. It kind of leads back to the bump drafting thing. Except sometimes when you get bump drafted and ultimately get disqualified, you never actually get a time penalty for it. This time you get bump drafted, don't get disqualified even after racing fairly dirty later on, and intentionally so to an extent. Don't get disqualified, do get a time penalty. Race clean involving bump drafting, do get disqualified, don't get a time penalty. It's just so convoluted and broken in many different ways that I'm pretty much done with it. This video is more of a negative. The other videos are meant to be more of a positive, but overall, I still want this fixed. I still want to go back to racing, but not to racing to this. This needs fixed, or at least said that it cannot be fixed. And until it does, for now, I'm doing one more live stream. One. Until this event ends, what's on screen here, meaning the Beatles at Tokyo Expressway Central. I'm doing it till it ends. So 3 a.m. I don't know when exactly I start, but I'm doing it till it ends, no matter what happens. I'm not just going to cop out knowing that I've lost SR and just end before it gets terrible. I'll go to the very end. I'm sinking with the SIP at this point. I'm going down with the SIP. I'm going to the very end of this, and then no more. If there's a way for me to be quote-unquote resurrected, the SIP be resurrected and fixed however you want to word that analogy, then yay. If not, then I'm sunk, and I'm staying sunk, and I'm no more. Again, I'm sorry, like I've said in previous videos, that means less content, but I want this to ultimately lead to more and better content. If it doesn't, I've done what I can. Now it's up to PD. Can they do enough to make it for me to worth coming back? There's no way to know. There's no way for me to call that, even though I've said all this. It's not up to me now. It's not up to me even, doing this, really. This may not even do anything whatsoever. PD might not even see this. I will do everything in my power to make sure PD sees this in some way, shape, or form. Y'all can send this to whoever y'all think would be interested as well. The more people see it, the better. And maybe something can get done, but there's no way to find out till it's the future. But for now, I'm just ending this and saying that I don't know what the future holds, because there's no way to know yet. So, this can't really end on a yee-haw. It just ends until it's uncertain. It's hard to say. But that's how the racing is too. It's just so much uncertainty, and knowing that's not really up to your racecraft. It's more up to just random penalties, whether it be contact or ghosting or whatever. And even all the miscellaneous minor stuff as well. It's just piled up to so much at this point. There's no point in even doing online racing anymore. If you go to an online lobby, if you're Type 3, you can barely do any races. And even when you do those races, you can't do a running start. And you can't have ghosting completely off. And then when you go to sport mode, it's all a bunch of randomness. There's not one thing that always does or doesn't happen. It's just randomness, and you don't know what will or won't happen depending on the race. That's it. That's the two things you do in GG Sport online racing. There's online lobby, there's sport mode in an online oriented game. Both are too broke to use right now. I'm still going to continue playing GG Sport. As I said, the livery editor is nice, the escapes are nice, all that's good, but GG Sport is an online oriented game that requires online only saves, so if you can't use the online part of it, it's basically unusable. I'm still going to attempt to use it, but the part that's meant to be used needs to be fixed. No doubt about that. So I'll end with this. BD gives some sort of communication in terms of literally fixing stuff or saying when I can't fix it. I will make a statement. Whether that means continuing racing or not, I don't know. It depends if stuff actually gets fixed or if there's a statement or whatever. I'll see as it goes. But until that happens, I'm done with GG Sport Online. Which means the videos are going to be quite a bit less. I don't know how much less. It may be one a week. It may be a few a month. It may be still one every 2 or 3 days. I don't know. And I don't know how long it will last because that's up to PD. But yeah, that's it, folks. Hope you all had something from this. I don't know what that something would be, but hopefully this was important in some way, shape, or form and actually does something, whatever that something may be. Just hopefully it's something. If it does something in the future, it's pretty much going to be for y'all eventually. It's sad that this had to come at all, but if something happens in the future, it's better than nothing, and we're at nothing right now. But for now, because we're still at nothing, it's far from our y'all. It may be in the future, so just look forward to the future, and who knows when that future will be, if at all.